DataCon LA 2021. Welcome to the Business Intelligence Reporting and Business Use Cases track. My name is Courtney Fowler, and I'm your host today, joined with Muhar Kambalala. Today, we'll be joining Phil Bangayan along with, for his presentation regarding integrating and visualizing data to make better decisions. Phil has been a career-long working with Teradata assisted executives in answering strategic questions during the pandemic by developing a dashboard that combined health and behavioral first-party data to help as many companies as possible. The underlying code and dashboard are given away for free. Phil has made a great product, and we would like to go ahead and welcome Phil and his presentation of this topic of integrating and visualizing data to make better decisions. Without further ado, Phil Bangayan.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, everyone. So I'll go ahead and share screen, and we can jump into a presentation. Okay, so as Courtney mentioned, I'm Phil Bangayan. I'm a principal data scientist at Teradata, and my presentation is about integrating and visualizing data to make better decisions. I also want to say that it's really an honor for me to be here. I've been attending DataCon back since before it was called DataCon. Back then it was called Big Data LA, and I think the first year that I went was 2015 when we were in Playa Vista, and it was a great event, and I've been coming ever since as often as I can. So really happy to be here. So as a little bit of background, for those who don't know Teradata is a 40-year-old tech company, and we're known for large-scale, highly reliable products. And we have many of our clients are Fortune 500 companies, and they're across many different industries. And here in LA, we have a lot of clients who are in the media and entertainment industries. And a lot of these companies rely on in-person gatherings for as part of their business model. So think about, let's say, concerts, having a lot of people in an amphitheater for a concert, or think about like a theme park, where again, it's an event where people pay money, buy tickets to come in person to the event. And so this is an area that's got hit really badly with the pandemic. I also want to point out that media entertainment is near and dear to my heart, because prior to my being at Teradata, I spent 7 years at Disney and 8 years at NBC Universal. So these in-person gatherings and media entertainment, that speaks really strongly to me. So when COVID hit, you can imagine this whole industry had a downturn. And in fact, we see here Variety saying Hollywood and tech brace for billions of losses. Our local paper, the LA Times, was talking about the entertainment events being shut down. And we can take this even a step further if we look at NPR reporting on the cruise line industry. And remember, there are some companies here in Los Angeles or in Southern California who have cruise ships as well. And so this entire sector of the industry that relied on in-person events definitely had a real tough time there. And so during this time, we went to our clients and we said, how can we help you? And one of our clients came to us and said, well, here, we have this really pressing issue. We are a movie studio. We have created this calendar way in advance where we decided on which weekend we are going to release a movie. And when we release a movie to the theaters, that window only lasts a few weeks. And so, and then after it's in the theaters, then it goes to other distribution channels. So you can think about like pay-per-view and eventually all the way down to DVD. And so when you release a movie into the theaters, you have this little window, this opportunity, and we don't want to release the movie to the theaters if either the regulars won't allow it, or if our customers are not ready to go to the theaters. And this makes sense. And so they came to us with this big question, and they said, how do we adjust our release schedule based on what's going on in the economy right now? We did not plan for having COVID when we put this schedule together. We operated under the assumption that things were going to be as they have been for the past 100 years or so. So what should we do now in order to have a better release schedule? And no, I want to point out here that this is a very ambiguous and broad question. They did not come to us and say, give us, take all these data sources and put it together so we can go ahead and understand it. They didn't say, build us a dashboard so that we can better, so we can make better decisions. Or they didn't say, come to us with various maps so that we can go ahead and look at each individual county where there's a movie theater. They said none of that. They asked, how do we adjust our release schedule? Again, very big, very broad question. As one of my old colleagues at NBC Universal used to say, big, hairy question. And it was up to us to take that very ambiguous question and figure out how do we answer it in such a way using data so that we can go ahead and give them the information they need in order to make an informed data-driven decision. And as we looked at this, we looked at what other people were doing. So the first place we went is probably the same dashboard all of us went to, which was, let's look at existing data. So we went to the Johns Hopkins dashboard. You probably saw this on all the newscasts. And this is an excellent dashboard. It certainly has a lot of information here. But most of the data was really focused on health. And that's of no surprise. That's the specialization of Johns Hopkins, the University of Medicine. But our clients wasn't coming to us just with a health question. They were coming to us with more of a business question. And we looked at this and we decided that, okay, it's not just health information that companies need. They actually need a combination of data in order to make that decision. And as we thought about this more, we realized that this combination involves health information. So, for example, what you saw on the Johns Hopkins dashboard, but also requires behavioral information. So, what are customers doing? What kind of signals are they providing that would make us think that the economy is ready to recover and they're ready to go back to movie theaters? But it's not just the health and behavior, but it's also first-party information. The health and behavior data, that's publicly available. But where this really comes into play is when you can take that publicly available data and apply it to your problem. And that's where we bring in the first-party information. And when you're in this area here, that's where you can use data in order to answer your questions. And it's not just looking at data that's out there right now and past and present data, but it's also being able to make predictions on that data. And so we learned early on that we should be utilizing our functionality in order to make predictions, because people aren't saying, should I release a movie right now? They're saying, hey, am I going to be ready to release a movie in like a month or two? So we looked at health, we looked at behavior and first-party information. I want to take a deep dive into each of these to give you a flavor as to what kind of data we're looking at in there. So for health data, we were looking at cases and deaths and vaccinations. Vaccinations came later on as that data became available and as vaccinations themselves became available. And I want to point out that we look at about 20 or so different data sources as we're putting the solution together for our client. And when it came to cases and deaths, we found a really great data source, which is the New York Times COVID-19 data GitHub site. So this has, on a daily basis, down to states and counties, all the new cases and new deaths and total cumulative cases and deaths for that particular county. So that was a real big data source for us, one that we bring into our database. Another area we looked at was predictions. So there's an organization out there, the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington, and they create models with regards to how COVID will be spreading, and so we import that as well. And so that gives an overview as far as the health information. With regards to behavioral information, we figured what would be useful in order to understand if your sector of the economy is recovering is what are people searching for? So go to Google Trends and see if they're searching for movie theaters or show times, or if it's a concert, if we're working for a concerts client, you're looking for keywords there or the artists that are performing, or if it's a travel company, then looking for keywords that have to do with vacation. So that's the first place we went to with regards to behavioral information. Then we also asked, well, where are people going? So remember, for a while we're in lockdown, and then now that we're out of our lockdown, people are starting to move around and get out of their house. And Google provides information on this. So it's anonymized data where they track people who have Android phones and allow for tracking. And they will publish data with regards to what destinations are people going to when they leave their house. So for example, are they going towards the grocery store? Are they going to the workplace? Are they going to areas that are not necessarily necessities? So for example, are they going towards the shopping areas, or maybe maybe movie theaters or parks? So this is another source of data that we bring in. And a third one has to do with where are people spending their money? So you can make an argument that some areas of the economy will recover faster than others. So you can, for instance, say that maybe retail might recover faster than, let's say, in-person dining, faster than, let's say, people going to movie theaters, faster than, let's say, people going on a vacation. And you can imagine that the recovery period for those all differ based on people's comfort level, or maybe I should say the comfort level for the industry, as well as the commitment for that industry. So, going into a retail store where you're moving around and you're maybe there for like half an hour is very different than going into a movie theater where you're sitting there for an hour and a half. So we took a look at economic data from the US government, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and this provides us information on where are people spending their money. So we've covered health data, we've covered behavioral data, and you see here that all this data comes from publicly available sources. Now we combine that with first-party data. Now, for this particular example, it would make sense to go ahead and have data for where all the movie theaters are. And then you can take a look at health and behavioral information and apply that for the counties where you have big movie theaters or where you have big markets over there. So again, it's not just taking that publicly available information, but it's taking that and applying it to your particular business case. And that's why it's so important to combine it with first-party data, because this is what helps solve that business problem. So after we've identified these data sources, we create an ETL process to ingest that data. And the data comes in many different sources. For those of you who are in the keynotes earlier this morning, they were talking about the obligatory flow diagram or the obligatory time series charts. So here's my obligatory flow diagram, where we lay out there are a number of different sources. And since these are publicly available, they're on the web. And some of them we hold in our local database. So for example, that first-party data may sit on the local database. But then with regards to third-party sources or publicly available sources, those are on websites where we go ahead and interact through an API, or we do some scraping, and those can come in different formats. So it could be HTML files, it could be XML files, JSON, CSVs, it could be Excel, and there's, I didn't list it here, there's actually one source that gives us a zip file. So we take in a lot of different data sources, and then we bring them into staging tables. So we'll bring them on in, we will go through some data transformations, we'll go ahead and do some cleaning on it, we'll extract the columns that we've deemed to be useful, we'll put them in these staging tables, and then after we take those staging tables, then we start combining the data sources with each other. So joining the different tables in order to help us get that information that we need. And again, that's where the power is coming in. It's not just different data sources, but how do you go ahead and combine them together? And so we'll create a set of core tables here. And then we'll also go ahead and create views on top of those core tables. So here are a number of different views based on these core tables. And these are the views that are shown or displayed to a user in Tableau. And as we're going through this process, we are using functionality that's available in Teradata Vantage. And I'm just putting some of the functionality up here right now. So we're doing a lot of data digestion. So again, working with APIs in order to scrape data from various websites, a lot of data prep work, and then we add in, and then we utilize statistical functions that you find in Vantage, and we take all this together in order to create tables that will end up looking like these views that are shown in Tableau. And you can see that there's a lot the purpose of doing this gives a lot of value to our customers. So look, I'm teasing it here. Let me go ahead and show a little bit more about it on this slide. And I will definitely show the dashboard immediately after this presentation. So we have 18 different tabs in our Tableau workbook. The first tab is what we call our executive summary. And over here at the top row, we have we go ahead and have indicators for health and behavior information at a national level. And then after that national level, we can go ahead and do a deep dive into a state. So we can take a look at health and behavioral information for a state or for some major cities. For example, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Dallas would be big cities for most companies. And then I can also take a look at some historical information for economic factors. And that gives me a high-level overview, but since a lot of these decisions are made at a local basis, I can drill down to an individual county. So I can click on any county here in the US, and then I can start taking a look at those health up here and behavioral information over here, and then I can drill down to a specific county here to get more information on that. And so for a company that, for example, is looking at, let's say, concerts, they can go ahead and look at a specific city or county in order to get better information about what are health and behavioral indicators in that area where the concert venue is. And then we can take this and apply it to first-party data as well. So now I can go ahead and take information about my company or about my distributors, and I can apply it here into this dashboard. So in this particular case, I'm showing where Teradata employees are throughout the nation. And then I can go ahead and look at a particular county where I have a lot of employees and make decisions, for example, about when should we reopen our offices. And then it's everything I've shown up to here so far has to do with past and present information. But we go ahead and we utilize our machine learning engine in order to make predictions on these parameters. So what you're seeing here is cases and deaths at a state level and at a county level. These blue lines are past and present data, and these orange lines here are the predictions we're making on that. So this is using the machine learning functionality that's found in the Teradata database, and I cannot say that most databases wouldn't have this kind of analytic capability, but we do, and that's why we provide it in here. And not only do we have this data available, and we certainly give it to our clients, but we make this available in the public. So you can go to our GitHub site. It's github.com/teradata/rtn. And then you can take a look at the data that's there. You can download the code. So we provide the code in the ETL and the DDL sections. You can download the dashboard itself in the Tableau section. And we keep some data files in here as starter packages in this data folder. So you can, so you don't have to be a Teradata customer in order to download the code. You will need an instance of Teradata Vantage in order to run the code. But we've actually had people who have contacted us and said, well, we don't have Teradata, but we'd still like to see how this code is written, and we can see how to apply that code to our business problem using the system we have. And this is one of our initiatives during COVID. We go ahead and we give this away for free. I will say that we've also installed this at 30 of our Teradata clients. And those clients are in various industries. For instance, we use it here at Teradata. So we've used this dashboard in order to help us make decisions about when should we reopen our offices. We've had retailers and electronics companies use this dashboard in order to make better decisions about where to go ahead and bring supplies into diverse parts of the supply chain, and eventually to the end consumer. We've had customers who in retail. So you wouldn't want to send inventory to a retail location where you don't have a whole lot of comfort among the citizens to go to that retail location. So we've had customers use this dashboard in order to better understand what's that demand in certain areas and where should they be sending their inventory to be sold. And I'll end in the PowerPoint part here by asking some general questions. These are thought starters for you. What challenges does your industry face as a result of the situation that we're in right now? And how can you utilize publicly available data, in our case, it's health and behavioral information, in order to make your decision? And then, given the themes that you've seen here, how can that solution help you out? So again, I'll leave these as thought starters for you. And if anyone would like to chat with me about it, I'm certainly available. My email address is phil.bangayan, so first name dot last name @teradata.com. But at this point, what I'd like to do is show the dashboard live. So let me get out of here and let me close PowerPoint. And let me get to our dashboard. This has to reload because I've been idle for a little while here. So here's that executive summary that I was talking about. At a national level, we provide health and behavioral information. So for instance, for health, we take a look at what are new cases and new deaths in the country. And if I hover over any of these, I get a pop-up that shows what that trend is over time. So new cases are down 11% from prior week, but new deaths are up 8%, and you can see that trend over here. I'll point out that an arrow is pointing up or down depending on whether this change from prior week or prior month is positive or negative, so whether that metric is moving up or down. And also point out that green means that the metric is going in a good direction. So it's good for new cases to go down. It's bad, and orange means bad, so it's bad for new cases to go up. But when it comes to other metrics such as mobility, so this is tracking whether people are leaving the house and going to retail locations or going to the workplace. We have more people going to retail locations now than a week before, so we consider that to be a good thing. So that's why this is colored green, and it's pointing up, even though this one's green and pointing down. So we'll track mobility here at a national level. And then when I get to this area here, these are monthly metrics that are behavioral. So for example, unemployment rates is going down, so that's a good thing. But consumer sentiment, whether or not people feel comfortable spending money, that's going down, that's a bad thing. And then with regards to spending in certain industries, we're tracking retail, food, so this will be dining, motor gas, and jet fuel. And you can see here for the case we're looking at, which is whether or not we should be feeling good about the movie industry. I'm seeing some mixed signals here. So retail is down, but dining is up. So it's as with a lot of data, it doesn't always come in a very clear answer. But I can take those national levels, and now I can go ahead and look at health and behavioral information at a state level. So if I click here on California, I can take a look at which counties in California are considered to be safe or recovering or flat in our case. This is done on a county by county level. And I can also take a look at these same mobility factors that I did up over here. And I can see how that is trending for the state of California. And I can also take a look at the Google searches here. So, what are people searching with regards to COVID, or with regards to movie listings, or with regards to tourist destinations. So these are keywords that we're searching for in Google. And then if I want to focus in on a particular city like New York or Los Angeles or Chicago or Dallas, I can focus in on the counties that they're in, and I can take a look at these mobility factors. And this particular one I'm showing is retail and recreation. One thing I should point out here is that we certainly collect a lot of data, and in the dashboard you're looking at here, it's been customized for the use case that I presented. But what's really more important is, since so much these particular industries, but the framework that we've put together. So we've had a lot of people take this dashboard and customize it for themselves by looking at the metrics that they deem usable for themselves. And again, the code is given away for free, so they can take a look at the Python code, and they can go ahead and make changes with regards to what data they're bringing in. Let me go through a couple more over here. So for example, if I go to recovery details, what this will do is this allows me to see the health information here and here, and I can take a look at the mobility information here, and I can specify a particular county. So for example, here in Los Angeles County, I'm going to click on LA County, and now you'll see that the cases and deaths are going to be specific for LA. So whereas with the nation, we saw kind of an upward trend, you can see a downward trend for new cases in Los Angeles County. And you can see that people are still staying in their homes at a not up to a pre-COVID level, as I can see from these mobility factors. In fact, if I compare the number of people going to the grocery stores now compared to pre-COVID, it's at 91%. So still hasn't made it all the way up to where we were before, but this number was far lower months earlier in the pandemic. So I can see that there is a bit of a recovery here. If I take a look at the employees, this shows information with regards to first party. So in our case, we're using this in order to better understand when should we reopen our offices. And so what I have here is a list of, or I should say a map of counties where we have Teradata employees. So every county that is colored orange means that there is at least one Teradata employee in there. And then these blue dots indicate the size of the employee population there. So since we are headquartered in Rancho Bernardo, which is a suburb of San Diego County, if I click on this if I come to this big blue dot, you'll see that we have 1,036 employees there, of which 1,000 of them are in the offices. And I can also see that information here. Here's San Diego County. It is a recovering county, and have 1,000 employees there, 1,000 of which go to office, 31 are virtual. And then I have information with regards to that county, for example. Let me scroll down a little bit here. For example, what's the population in that county and the number of cases and deaths for this week, and then some behavioral information with regards to mobility. So I can go ahead and search and drill down for a particular county. So let's just look here at Los Angeles County once again, and you can see the same health and behavioral information I had earlier. And now I can go ahead and combine that with our first party data, namely how many employees do I have in LA County, and use this to make a better decision about whether or not to reopen that El Segundo office. Let's see. With regards to data sources, I mentioned them in the presentation, but in this dashboard, I also list exactly what those sources are. So we have 2 pages worth of data sources here. And you can see, for example, we're getting data from Google, we're getting data from the New York Times here. We are getting data from the IHME over here. And so you can see we lay out all the different data sources that we bring in for this dashboard. And then I'll also point out here are here's some economic factors and predictions with regards to health information. So this is the health information for state cases and deaths and county cases and deaths. And then we also make predictions with regards to those 4 economic factors that I was showing before, namely retail, jet fuel, motor gas, and food service. And then we also track vaccinations as well, since that's a big question. So here's a map of the US showing the percentage of people who have at least 1 dose of the vaccination. So that gives an overview with regards to this dashboard. Again, this is available for free. So for people, if people can go to github.com/teradata/RTN, and they can come here and take a look at the code that we use. So here we have a lot of Python code here, and we have DDL code in order to set up the tables in the database. And then here in the Tableau section, I've created a dashboard just for us here at DataCon LA, and this is the dashboard with data updated as of yesterday. So let me go ahead and stop here. I think we've got about just a little bit under 10 minutes and see if there are any questions or comments that I can go ahead and answer.
Yeah. Phil, thanks for your presentation. I'm definitely kind of near and dear to my heart. I'm a Tableau developer, so all these free dashboards community that Tableau's promoted has been a really great kind of asset to it. So I appreciate your company and yourself kind of putting that out there. So looking to get of myself right now. And Raleigh, are there any questions in the Q&A that you see?
Courtney, I don't see any questions. That only says that, Phil, that was a very complete presentation, informative. Yeah, I don't see any questions, but that said and done, I think your contacts are there. Courtney has posted your contacts.
Okay.
People may have questions at a later point in time, and they will reach out to you.
Sure.
Great presentation. Thanks. I learned a lot of what Teradata is doing. The only question is, do I have to go ahead and bring everything into the Teradata ecosystem before using the visualization tool, or can I have a discrete, disjointed data sets, and there's some kind of an ETL before the Teradata visualization tool points to it?
Oh, so that's a really good question. So we ourselves take data from a lot of disparate data sources. So for example, I showed you the New York Times, I showed you Google, I showed you the Bureau of Economic Analysis, I showed you the IHME. So we ourselves take data from a lot of different sources. In the end, it really depends on the view that you want. So for example, if you want a page that's just about vaccinations, you can go ahead and find a source on vaccinations, and you can do a tab just on that. In fact, that last tab that I showed is really that information. Right. If you want to go, but I'm a firm believer that the power of data comes when you combine different sources together and you apply it to your problem. So for example, when I showed that tab with regards to the employees, that tab has information with regards to where our Teradata employees and offices are. It also has information on there with regards to where the what the health status for that county is, and it also has information with regards to where that or what the behavioral information for that county is. Now you can still get these from disparate sites or disparate tables. In fact, we do some of that as well. And then in that Tableau dashboard, we take different parts or different graphs, and then we take from those disparate tables. But we also have some tables where we join all that together, and that's and then for example, you can go ahead and look at for example, county population information and take a look at that with employee information. So I'm a big believer that's where the power comes in, and we have a number of stored procedures that we run, whose job is specifically to join a lot of different tables together.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, it's another tool I learned about. This is the first time I'm seeing, so Definitely, I learn about it, and thank you, Courtney. You have posted a lot of stuff. I think Phil's slides are there and his GitHub and everything. So thank you. I'll take a note of that.
Yes, I see someone did ask about the slides, and Courtney, thank you for posting a link on that. And so those are up there already. And Courtney, also thank you for posting the GitHub site as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil. I don't see any questions further, but okay, Courtney, take it over.
Okay.
So we
well,
do
thank you for everyone for attending.
Yeah, we do have 5 minutes left. So, Phil, if you have anything else to kind of depart on us with, or if you'd like to wrap up, we can go either way with it.
You know what? I think my big slide here that I want to talk about, and Courtney, you had mentioned something about this without even knowing it earlier, was that slide about a senior executive coming to us with this very ambiguous question. And I think a lot of times when we go about in our data science and data engineering training, we're given very specific specs. We are told, build a dashboard that shows X, Y, Z. And I think the value that we bring is really being able to translate that very broad, ambiguous question and into an area that we can go ahead and answer with data, and then bring that back up to an executive and say, hey, I know you weren't even thinking about a dashboard. I know that you had this strategic question. In this case, it was, when will my part of the economy reopen? Or more specifically, how should I go ahead and arrange my my movie release schedule? So they're not even thinking about putting together a dashboard with health, behavioral, and first-party information. They're really thinking about something that at first glance may seem completely irrelevant from a data perspective. But I think we can bring a lot of value on in by thinking about how do we use data in order to answer those questions in a way that a senior executive may not be thinking of at that moment because they're thinking about so many other things. And I think we can all think of times when that's happened. And like I said, Courtney, you brought that up in the very beginning of the session without even knowing where I was going with this presentation.
I will say it's something that's always kind of popping up, right? We always think a lot of people here why I'm volunteering on my 3rd year with DataCon LA is because we kind of have that love of trying to find that way to use data to solve the problems that we have every day for, right?
Yes.
Maybe it be through visualization or any other way through AI and machine learning, you know, like this is a problem we're all here to solve at the end of the day for it, right? So how can we do that? Data is what we're going to use at that right now to do it with it.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, it becomes a gut-based decision. That's not what we want when we have all this data out here to help us make those better decisions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So,
okay.
With that, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Again, Phil, I appreciate your presentation. Thanks for being with DataCon again for this year. Thank you to your attendees for your question, interaction, your session. Please, again, use the chat to check out the presentation along with the GitHub repository that I shared in the chat message. So again, I'll provide another form here in a second so that we can provide feedback on the session. If you have any additional questions, comments, or any ways we can improve DataCon LA, let us know. You know, we're always looking to make these presentations and sessions better. Hopefully next year we'll be back in person.
Yes.
We'll
I would love that.
Right, exactly. I'm here in my closet right now. So we definitely love to see you guys' faces in person and shake hands and meet you guys again, hopefully next year in 2022. But again, have a wonderful day, and thank you for being part of this year's DataCon LA.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Yes.
Bye.